Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of 43 Grand Prix now and once, twice, three-time world champion. Put your hands together for Lewis Hamilton. Welcome. Great to see you, mate. Great to see you.
Hi, everyone.
You've done so many interviews since 2006, and I don't know if you remember the conversation, but it stuck in my mind because it was the first time your face had been on the front cover of F1 Racing. And you were 2006. You weren't even a Formula One driver. No. Back then, you were in GP2, you're in Monaco, and kind of now you're living the dream, living in the town, and the journey has kind of just gone upwards ever since.
It has. It's kind of gone upwards since a lot earlier before that, actually. But it's been amazing. I started racing when I was 8, so it's been 22 years, a long, long time. But I remember being on the phone to Ron Dennis and Martin Whitmarsh. Like, when can I drive the Formula 1 car? I was never really ready when I was asking them. But and then 2006, won the GB2 championship. But I won that race in Monaco.
You did?
But those 2 years in Monaco were the best. 2005, I was in Formula 3, and I won the 2 races in Formula 3. And it happened to be the best weekend of my life at the time, because the team stayed in Menton, and every morning they had to get up really early to come to town. That's where I luckily got swindled in a room in the hotel next to where I live now, and I had a scooter and I was driving around. I was hanging out with Felipe Massa at the time, who was driving for Ferrari. So it was just very surreal to think that then I was racing him a couple of years later for the championship.
Is it still surreal now when you go back to Monaco and think, I live here now and I don't just hang out with Felipe Massa, I can hang out with anyone on the grid because I'm a part of it?
Well, actually, in fact, I actually don't hang around with any of the drivers. But I'll be going around or I'll be running around and I'll stop pretty much every day. I'll stop and think, this is crazy to think I live here now. I live now in the same building as Nico grew up in. Come a long, long way from Stevenage, Petrie Way, this small street, which I still I often go back to. When I'm back at my parents' house, I drive through Stevenage, and I still go to the movies down there, and so I sometimes drive through. And I'll be driving through my old town, and I'll be like, that's where I was riding my bike, that's where I got run over, that's where I did this. It's all these different experiences.
Did you ever think, in those days when you used to sleep on the sofa, in a council flat in Stevenage, did you ever imagine that you could be a 3-time Formula One world champion, or even make it to Formula One back in those days?
I think in those days, the days that was sleeping on my dad's couch, I think I don't remember back then really thinking much about Formula One, to be honest. Of course, I would watch Formula One with my dad on the weekends, and we used to play Scale Electrics a lot. Together. He had a suitcase full of all these old Scale Electrics bits. I don't know where he got it from, but then we had the old Formula 1, the John Player Lotus and the Camel Formula 1 car. Yeah, some really, really cool cars, and it was actually Ayrton's car. And I used to play that and watching the Grand Prix. Of course, I dreamt of it, but I didn't think it was ever possible, as kids do.
Mm. How would you describe the journey? Has it been total commitment at every stage? Has it been not accepting second best at any stage? How would you look back on the last 20 or so years?
I think, my dad was the biggest part of the puzzle. I think for me, particularly as a young kid, kids just want to play all the time. So I was getting to go karting at weekends. My friends would be like, "Where are you going?" And I'm going karting, and they would think that I'd go to some fun fair down the road or something. They didn't really understand it. Neither did my teachers. As adults, they thought it was a joke. They were not supportive at all. And but we just kept our head down, and we would arrive, and it was, I don't know if any of you guys have seen Cool Runnings. I always revert to it because Cool Runnings for me it is my favorite movie, because I feel like there's the 4 guys in it, and me and my best friends, there's 4 of us. And we're a little bit similar to some of those characters in it. But the reason I always refer to it is because the day that they arrived on the top of the hill in the first bobsleigh run, the whole paddock went quiet because there were only black people there. And that was really how it was when we would arrive. It was kind of like, what are these guys doing here? And it was it just brings me joy to think that we went out and we did so well, and eventually we earned our way, we earned our respect. And but my dad was going around being very meticulous. He was going around taking notes from as many people who would be willing to give us notes. Not many people were, but and he learned the craft. He didn't know much about karting. Actually, didn't know anything about that, but he was actually a really good mechanic on his road car, and very, very, again, meticulous and detailed when cleaning the car and looking after it. And he was my mechanic for years, and we won championships together. It was awesome, and it was just amazing when we drove away in our camper van that didn't go over 30 miles an hour. It was really, really crap, but it was just great because we sung "We Are the Champions of England" at the time. And then really otherwise, just then my dad was super focused on making sure that we represented ourselves in the right way. Then we got signed, and then that was really when a lot of pressure came on. My dad managed that. As where for me, I was just training myself. I didn't have a trainer, so it was just really keeping my head down, staying focused on winning, and never losing sight of the belief that I have in myself, and what I love doing.
Did you doubt yourself at any stage? Because it would be understandable if you did.
I never did. No, I think there was definitely times where, not in go-kart. In go-karts, it's fierce. No problems, no ever. Just get out and do what I do. But I think there was a moment when I moved to cars. It was really hard. The first few laps was going really well, and then I spun off, I crashed, destroyed the back of the car. And I was petrified because I had to call Ron and tell him, and he's not an easy guy to, he's not, but he was really supportive, and he's like, no way, this happens. And then we did our first few races, disaster. And, there was one day, there's only one day really, that we got home one day and we sat in front of the garage in the car and we're talking, and it was like a real down moment. Like, maybe I'm not going to be able to adapt to this, from karting to cars. And went in, had normal dinner, went to bed, woke up super early, went training. Next race I won. Just got so if I ever had a low moment, next day I just get up with this determination. I don't know where it come from, but I just dug deep and somehow I just managed to find it. So
you talk a lot about your faith and your very strong faith. I don't know if at that age your faith was as strong maybe as it is now, but was that something that you would use to help you in those low moments or not?
Back then, for sure. I mean, I was born and raised Catholic, but as soon as we started racing, we stopped going to church. And I think my dad more so, he wasn't like someone that followed with the faith. So where for me, I always had a cross chain on. I would always pray, but it was a family relationship where you kind of kept it quiet, kept it to yourself. You never do it. And I think it's not till I got older that I was able to really feel comfortable expressing myself about it. I did go to a Catholic school as well. But yeah, I guess even with other kids, it's kind of, you can't really talk too much about it. And then when I got to the sport, it's very difficult to really be yourself in front of all these cameras. And generally, I'd raced all those years, and there's all the preparation of being a racing driver, but not being in the spotlight, not being in front of cameras, not sitting on talk shows or speaking in public. There was none of that preparation. Yeah. So you're just thrown in a deep end without knowing how to paddle. So that was really a transitional time. It took a long time to get right. And I still mess up today, but I'm at a place that it doesn't really matter. I got the 3 titles, so it's pretty cool.
Is it only since you started winning a lot of races or winning world titles that you've kind of been comfortable in that respect to actually come out and say, no, this is who I am. I'm going to say what I want. Take it or leave it. You don't have to like me, but, this is me.
I think it's coming of age. And I think definitely, well, there was as I said, my dad worked so hard to make sure that we were squeaky clean. We did all the things right. Yeah. We did what people were expecting of us so that we fitted in. And I always describe it like it's like to get to Formula 1 at the time when we were trying to get to Formula 1, it's probably different now, but it's like everyone in Formula 1 is a square. And unless you're a square, you're not going to get in. It's like we had to kind of squish ourselves into being a square to do so. But, you know, we're all different shapes. And I think got into the sport, dug our roots in. Now there's not really much you can do to get rid of me. So then over that period of time, you kind of start to unfold. And also coming to this team, I think in my previous team, I felt very much in a bit of a box. You know, I want to go do this, but you get stopped. I want to go and do that, you get stopped. It's where when I come and came a part of this team, I really wanted that freedom. There is no box, so I'm free to move in the shapes and forms I want to do.
Because you've spoken about how having the confidence to be yourself has turned you into a better driver in the last couple of years as well. How is that so? Because you kind of get the perception from the outside, when the visor goes down, you are that racing robot, as it were. You're doing what you've been trained to do, and outside emotions don't really come into it.
I think it's because, well, as a Formula 1 driver, you know, the pressures inside are just the same as there are outside, and we are only human beings. But for sure, when you get the visor down, no one can say anything to you. You're in your own space, and it's easy to be focused. When you're outside, there's all these different things, these commitments you have, trying to get a good balance of your time. You know, there's been times where we're just too strict on how much you train and how much you sacrifice, and not getting to enjoy life. And then there's times when, you know, sometimes you can go too little. So it's really trying to find a good balance in your life, which is what I've been able to strike the last couple of years.
People don't understand the sacrifices that any top sportsman has to make. So in terms of what you'd like to do and what you have to do, where's the balance in your life? Is it 50-50 on a working week, or is it 90% work, 10% what you want to do, or how does it work out?
Up until this year, I sacrificed everything. I just, you know, like it was all, it was just work, and training, and, you know, kind of a bit too much. And I think really this year, I've kind of been 50-50, not even 50-50. I've kind of enjoyed myself more, and it's actually paid off more. It's strange. I've gone completely against everything that I've always known, and kind of been tuned and trained and kind of programmed to think. And I've really let loose of a lot of those things, and more so than not, I've proved the theory wrong. So I'm getting to do my training and doing things which I don't regret not doing, and somehow striking a good balance with that. But still, you got to get the sleep. Sleep is like 70% of training, something like that. Well, the food is 70% of training, but it's a large portion of being able to recover.
I think you've almost convinced Nicky Lauda that doing it the way you're doing it this year is the right way as well. Because was he quite critical of not, you know, spending too much time away from work, and now he's kind of changed his opinion a bit?
No, I think Nicky was, before we had met, as a lot of people I find in the world, it's very strange, because we are so quick to jump to assumptions and assume things about people and judge. And I think Nicky, we hadn't really met. He had judged on some things that I had done and who he thought I was. And it wasn't until we actually started to sit down to talk about coming to this team, he's like, "Oh, you're just like me. You like girls, you like cars, you know, all these different things." It's like, "Oh, you know, you're focused on these things. We're actually very, very similar." So then we started to get on. We built this relationship. We got on really well, and we negotiated together, which it worked. You know, it was really cool, and super fair guy. But no, it's not a case of not working. I'm working all the time. Actually, this year I probably work more than ever. You see me all over the place. I'm traveling and doing all these appearances I'm doing, and whilst trying to keep the training up, whilst trying to keep your health up, whilst trying to keep your weight down, because you can't get too big or heavy, and staying focused. So this has definitely been the most flat out year of my whole life. But I've enjoyed it. And somehow qualified better and raced better than really ever.
Do you believe that you're driving better now than you have at any stage in your career? Is this the peak of your career so far?
I would say so. I think there's more to come.
Because that was going to be my next question.
Yeah, I feel there's. Well, I think inevitably you would hope that you're always growing. You know, I would imagine for all of you, you know, each year you hope that you're better at your job than you are the previous year. If you're not, then what you're doing. So hopefully I will be continuing to grow. And I guess that comes in, and again, that your outside confidence and your personality growing and flourishing helps you in your day-to-day work. You know, if you're enjoying yourself and happy outside, then you're a happy driver. And I guess that's maybe the same for you guys. So I hope to continue to grow. I think this year has been definitely a very, very strong year. For sure, it's been the strongest year that I've had in terms of being at peace. And I'm arriving, and I'm like, I don't even know how I'm staying as consistent as I am. What I do love is when I do a race, and on the edge, the last race, for example, I was dead at the end. I was pushing so hard, and really enjoying it. That's what racing's all about. I'm generally pretty hardcore, you know. I want a hard race. I want to be destroyed afterwards. It doesn't matter if, you know, of course I want to win, but as long as you've put up a good battle and you've given 110%, you've left with zero, you know, it's not like, oh, I had a couple percent left, but I finished the race. I'm like, I want to be completely depleted after the race, knowing that I gave it my all and I didn't make, you know, very many mistakes, and then I can go home proud. So that's what I have done actually even in the last 2 races.
And you go back home and you've got other things to focus on away from racing, and you talk a lot about your music at the moment. I don't know how many tracks you've now written. Last count I read it was something like 80 tracks that you'd written.
I've done like 130, 140 songs we have.
That's enough for a double album this Christmas, isn't it?
We have a lot more than one album, 2 albums. Well, that's a hobby of mine. I mean, what I've tried to do is I like doing stuff outside of sport, but generally, like for example, the last race, the 3 days afterwards, I was having physiotherapy on my back, and in training to recover, because it's, you know, it takes a lot out. I lost 4 kilos in the last race, so, you know, just to recover, replenish your body, and then get back to it. I was at the factory, and I was on those days. I'm just constantly in touch with my engineer. Where are we losing this time? Where can we improve? What's happened since Singapore because the car's changed? How can we extract more from it moving forward in this last race? And so we just continuously had that communication with the guys, and went to a NASCAR race at the weekend. But for example, last week when I was at home, which is the first time I've actually been home for a period of time, I spent most of it in my spare bedroom closet recording this music. Literally, like all day I'll be in the closet. It's really weird, but I'm enjoying it. I like it's kind of therapeutic.
Is it just for therapy, or do you see yourself having that career one day when the racing stops?
I never ever set out to have a career in it. It's just been for fun. I just love music. I grew up, my family from Grenada, my dad's side are from Grenada, and I grew up going there a lot and being around the Caribbean family. They're always playing soca music, reggae. So I grew up my dad was quite musical. He's a drum player. He always had an amazing hi-fi system. Always had music played in the car. So I grew up around it. I started playing guitar when I was 13. I always wanted to do music. So it's something I love cars. I love music, maybe the same, if not more. So that's my hobby. Just continue that.
You're in a very good position as well to pick up the phone to a lot of guys that you would normally just be listening to, and ask for a bit of help and advice. Do you discuss music with role models that you've had throughout the years, or?
Generally not. Because you imagine, like, it's like if someone was to come and sit with me and start talking about cars, you imagine I talk about it all the damn time, so you want to talk about something different. So if I meet people in the music industry, for example, I talk about something different. Right. I don't want to talk about the same thing everyone tries to talk to them about. If they want to bring up what they do, then I can do that, but very rarely. But I have played stuff for people, and
what was the reaction?
It's generally been very good so far. So it's always encouraging. People are just really, generally the people I've met are very, very supportive, you know, and just someone like, for example, Pharrell is just one of the greatest guys or a genius, obviously, and he's just so supportive, just about giving positive energy, which is amazing.
So when Pharrell phones you up and says, "Lewis, I've just recorded this brilliant track, you've got to hear it first," that's when you know you've made it.
That is that has happened, and it's amazing, yeah. It's actually not Pharrell, it's Kanye.
Okay.
And like he would send me a track, and I'm like, oh my God, got this track that no one's had. Is he trusting me with it? That's when you kind of like, this is not real.
But it is real. Yeah. Formula One's given you a huge amount. I mean, you've put a lot of work into it, but the sport has afforded you a lifestyle that, you know, as you say, you never thought would have been possible. But what do you think as a world champion you need to give back to Formula One? What sort of a legacy do you want to leave the sport one day?
Honestly, I don't. In all honesty, I don't feel I have to give anything back to Formula One. I feel I'm there and I'm in amongst it, and I'm in the drivers' briefings. I'm supportive with the FIA road safety campaigns. I'm part of it. So I am helping in that sense. I don't feel like there's anything else I can really do. So I don't feel like I have an obligation to help, but I am in it, and I enjoy being a part of that. I think beyond that, I feel like I have more of an opportunity to encourage young kids to work hard at school, to make better, wiser decisions, to continue to believe in themselves, to stay focused on their dreams. But not only with kids, but also underprivileged children. Yeah. I love working with, for example, UNICEF. I've been to Africa and Philippines and different countries working with that, which I really, really love. So that's where my heart is, that's what I really want to do, particularly when I stop. It's really when I stop racing, that's really what I want to spend most of my time doing.
I know Mercedes and IWC work very closely with Laureus and their foundation, and that great Mandela saying, isn't it? Sport has the power to change the world. It's something that they believe in, I think something you believe in as well.
Bless you. Well, I think music really has the power to change the world. Sport, I don't know. Do I feel it has the power to change the world? I think it definitely plays a role. In that, because you've got people. It brings people together and helps people connect in ways that perhaps they wouldn't do elsewhere otherwise. But you see kids playing. They'll be playing next to roundabouts. They're playing in the park or in front of their houses. So for sure, it's a huge part in people's lives. So I don't know how it can change, but it's obviously changed my life and so many other people's. So for sure.
Do you see evidence of the way that your story has inspired others around the world? Do you get Team LH44 fans writing to you and telling you about that?
I do. I think it's just very difficult to really grasp when people tell you that. I can see in this in some respects, because we didn't have any money. We were a normal working class family. My dad didn't have the money to race. He spent his and my stepmom spent their whole life savings in the first year, which was like £18,000 or whatever it was. It was all went into go-kart, into this crap cart we had. And after that it was all depleted, and my dad had to have 4 jobs at one stage, and my stepmom was throwing all of her money in, so they couldn't do anything. Couldn't be going on their holidays, couldn't be doing the things, furniture, clothes, restaurants, all that stuff. They didn't go out ever. The furthest we could go was have like Pizza Hut on the weekend, maybe, if we were lucky. And we were arriving at racing against people, as I said, who had money. So unfortunately, the way the sport is, it is such an expensive sport. There's a lot of great talent that will come through, but most of it will not succeed, because most of them will not succeed because there will be others who probably have less talent, who have the money, who will get through. There's drivers that have paid their way to Formula One. And so, which is a shame, is where you just really want to see the raw talent come through. But that's just the way it is. But hopefully in the future, there'll be more and more of that talent will come through. And I was, again, very, very fortunate to have made that through. So I hope in the future, even if there's one kid that I'm able to encourage or help or influence to tag along to use my brand, to use what I've experienced to help get through, that'd be kind of neat.
I mean, the story of you going up to Ron Dennis at the Autosport Awards as a young 9-year-old, I think it was, a 10-year-old, with an autograph book saying, "Can I have your autograph? I want to join your team one day," has been well talked about. But if one child came up to you in a few years' time and, "Can I have your autograph, please? I want to be like you one day, and I'm going to do it. Can you help me?" That's the full circle, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. But I mean, Ron owned a team. So he was like, "Yeah, I'll give you a drive." I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't own a team yet, but...
Do you fancy owning a team?
No, I don't. I don't know. I love driving cars. I don't Don't want to do managing, don't want to do that kind of stuff. Interested in other things. I love to build a car. Not for one car, but like a road car. I love to do design and stuff. I like being creative. But I think at some stage it would be kind of neat if I'm trying to build up this little company at the moment and managing myself. And maybe in the future I'll be able to bring on some young kids maybe, and just having a kid being able to say, oh, I'm managed by Lewis Hamilton, an ex-Formula 1 driver or whatever, I'm sure will be helpful for a kid when speaking to sponsors to try and get sponsorship. So trying to create the formula that works for me, which doesn't fully yet. And when it does, hopefully I can use that package to help others.
And if you never won another championship, if you never won another race or appeared on the podium, which looks unlikely going into next season, but if that did happen, would what you've achieved be enough for you to sit back one day and say, yeah, I did all right here?
Well, it's a difficult question, really. I think when I got to Formula 1, we were just couldn't believe we made it. When we got our first championship, it was kind of like, you have to just be grateful for what you have. We've already, not many people get to have even one championship. So, and that's really been our kind of, I guess, from the beginnings we've come from. That's how we appreciate and respect it. And then I got the second one, and I was like, if I never get another one after this, I'm just grateful to be one of the very few that has two. Out of the three, and I with the same mentality. So, but I'm still going to apply myself the same in these next years. And I've been very fortunate to work with great people. I've won at least a race in each year of my seasons. But I have a feeling, as I said, the best is yet to come. And I think in this team, we've got such a great group of people. I find it very hard to believe that they're not going to continue to provide me with a good car to win.
Talking of the best is yet to come, we have some quickfire questions for you here against the clock, fitting for IWC Talks 2. 10 questions in 60 seconds. Let's see if we can do this. We have a clock behind us here.
No pressure.
See, no pressure here. But the clock will start when I say go. Time for you. Moves too fast or too slow?
Too fast.
I want to spend the most time possible with?
My family.
Sharks or spiders? What are the most scary and why?
Spiders.
Seriously?
Freaking hate spiders.
When they make a movie of your life, who would play Lewis Hamilton?
I don't have an answer for that one. I have no idea.
Lewis Hamilton for the time being. If I could turn back time, I would...
Probably asked a girl out that I didn't ask out, maybe.
Really? Does that girl know that she could have... well, that could take more than 60 seconds. I can always spare 10 minutes for...
Cup of tea? I don't know. I'm making it
your
up.
kettle. What I've always wanted to do but never dared to is...
Nothing. I've done everything I've dared to do.
Really? My best childhood memory is?
Racing go-karts. Win British Championship when I was 10, maybe.
Wouldn't be here without it. Does the word impossible exist in your life?
No.
And the most inspirational thing somebody has ever said to you is?
Never give up. My dad.
You did well, your dad, to say that, I think.
We've got more questions or not? 5 seconds.
You've done it.
It's 25 seconds, is it?
I think that was 25 seconds.
Have we got time for other people to ask questions or not?
We probably have. If someone here has a question, I'm quite happy. One man there in the middle, hand up straight away. Shout it out loud, sir, so we can hear it on film.
So the first cliche question is, who was your favorite driver or ideal driver in the F1 during your childhood? And the second
Well, that's Ayrton Senna. Ayrton Senna?
Okay.
Yeah, nods of approval for that one.
And the second question is, now, how did you find the transition between, as far as your internal sensations or adrenaline rush from karting to F3 and then to F1, obviously?
Good question. From karts to cars was a really big step. From a small go-kart with just mechanical grip to a car with aerodynamics. That's a hard concept to really grasp. That took a lot of time. In terms of the driving, heel and towing and gear shifting, that just came. I took that to like a duck to water. But and then going from Formula GP2 to Formula 1, again, that was a huge step for me because it's so technical, so much information. I was having to learn all these different things. I was working with these engineers who were from Harvard and Oxford and Cambridge, and I hadn't been to university. These guys were so smart to be able to communicate with them in the way that they speak, or turn what I'm feeling into something they can understand, was really tough. It took me 8 days before I felt that I was quick enough to be on it and beat Fernando, which is doesn't sound like a lot of days, but until I was on point in the car. So, yeah.
Question down the front here.
Sorry, it's a very simple question, but I think we're all dying to know. Which road car do you drive? And it's not a loaded question, by the way. You could drive anything, but I think we'd like to know what you actually drive day
I'm
to
on
day.
camera, so I've got to be careful what I say. And
But yeah, be yourself.
huh?
We're all car drivers. What do you drive?
Well, I'm naturally being a lover of cars. I'm building a small collection at the moment. So the car I drive majority of the time, which you'll probably be disappointed in, is a smart electric. I live in Monaco, so
You can't
smart
park
electrics
anything
is
else.
super easy. You just unplug it, drive out the road. But when I've got a bit of time, I have a few different cars.
Mayfair, what you drive?
When I'm in,
Mayfair.
well, I have a Maybach, but I don't drive it. That's a car you get driven in. But I literally just got a Maybach, which I love. And I have a GL. I have an SL Black Series. Got a Pagani, got the P1, got a couple of Ferraris.
Is there a classic car out there? Is there a classic car out there that you've got your eye on at the moment?
I don't have any. I don't have any. No, at the moment I have everything I've wanted, and more. I've got a couple of old classics like a Cobra 1967, which is just amazing. It's been signed by Carroll Shelby, and Carroll Shelby actually found it. I found it, but he checked it for me before I bought it, and it suggested that this is an amazing car. You should get this one. And he died like a couple of months later. It's kind of a strange story, but at the moment there are no other cars that I'm dreaming of. But I'm always looking, looking for the right one. But and I have an Escalade, for example, because I like big SUVs. I don't know what else.
Well, this weekend you better make do with the Mercedes V6 hybrid, and race it around the Abu Dhabi Yas Marina circuit at Lewis. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you here, ladies and gentlemen. Lewis Hamilton. Thank you so much, mate. Really enjoyed that. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Keep your fingers crossed for this weekend. Thank you. Cheers.